Many Canberrans have been shaken in recent months to hear of the allegations of sexual abuse at Marist College. In the ultimate breach of trust, a former teacher has now been jailed for sexually abusing students. Tonight we hear the personal account of one former student who hopes his story will act as a warning to others. And for the first time, the principal of Marist College discusses the school's handling of the case. Anna Walker has this exclusive story and a warning: this report contains some graphic accounts of sexual abuse.
I never thought I'd be working on the streets as a prostitute or being a drug addict, or, I thought I'd just be normal dad, 3 kids or whatever, but that ain't never going to happen.
What happened was unforgivable. What happened deserves nothing but the greatest and deepest of apologies. This is a very fine school with a very fine reputation, and to walk into something which is as evil and as difficult an issue to deal with, to have happen in a school where I was the headmaster, was something that I had to come to terms with very quickly.
People are reaching a time in their lives and looking back and saying that it's not right. They were very reticent to come forward before. They're very fragile. They're suffering from many psychiatric illnesses, but now maturity's come to them, and they just want to deal with those issues.
I'm sure they're just in as bad circumstances as I am, or, I'm sure their lives haven't gone as good as normal people's lives.
This 36-year-old is not ready to be identified, but feels compelled to tell his story.
As I got into trouble, I'd sometimes get sent into his office and he'd say, pull down your pants, and then I'd expect a caning on the bum, because they used to give us the cane a hell of a lot at school. And then, he'd go bend over the desk, and then he'd pull up his robe and just start masturbating.
A class action is being mounted against the Catholic Church over a number of sexual abuses spanning decades.
It was his last taste of freedom. The man who taught under the religious name of Brother Koska was today jailed for 2 years for sexually abusing some of the students he taught religion to.
2 years, to me that seems nothing compared to what they've put me, and I don't know about the other boys, but I'm sure they've got similar feelings to me. Doesn't seem like enough, just seems like a little bit too late.
The former student says he was first abused by Brother Koska at Marist College, starting when he was in Year 7 in 1984. But it was another teacher, Paul Lyons, who befriended the then 12-year-old just after his father died.
He started talking to me about that and saying, no, it's okay, things will get better and stuff like that, until he got my trust up. Until one afternoon, I think it was after a camp, he drove me home. He used to drive me home a lot for sports things. I was in the athletics. And took me up to Mount Taylor and sodomised me pretty much. Started off in his car, and he showed me a few pornographic pictures and stuff to get me in the mood, I suppose. And then we moved to the back seat, and he tried to have anal sex with me there, but that didn't work. And so we moved to the bonnet of the car, and he had me on the bonnet, and I remember telling him to stop, but he was hurting me. And that, he didn't. I don't remember the drive home at all. I just remember the next thing, I'm in the laundry room, crouching down, trying to hide the blood from my mum.
That trauma shaped the rest of his life. But the guilt suffered by Paul Lyons was short-lived. He committed suicide 8 years ago after confessing to police that he molested another boy at Darramarlin College, where he taught after Marist.
First I started taking injecting speed, but then I started injecting heroin because it stopped my sexual pleasure. It also made me forget, and it also made me sleep. Like, the other three main things I wanted to do was forget what had happened, and then I didn't have to deal with my sexuality, and I could sleep, and I didn't have to think about it.
He moved to Brisbane to try to get off the drugs, but he couldn't escape his past.
There were working girls up and down the street. So after a few months I started talking to them and then getting drugs off them. And then one thing led to another, and then I ended up working and selling my body at Albert Park.
The boy could not protect himself, but the man can now say, it is over, I've done everything humanly possible to end this. There's no way that it'll be finished, but at least there's nothing more that I can do to right the wrong. And it's with that finality that these men can get some healing.
At this time, in this place, it is Marist College. Marist College has learned a lot. Marist College has learnt from the mistakes of the past. But to be fair to Marist College, the principles upon which we base our care, all of our structures that we have for the care and protection and the safety of our boys have been in place for quite a long time. Now, unfortunately, they weren't effectively in place when these things happened.
Former Marist students are now demanding an inquiry into the extent of the abuse. Some have posted apologies on a website.
On the school's 40th anniversary, I would like to apologise to a number of students for my failure to act as a fellow student when they were abused. I did not complain to staff or make any attempt to stop the abuse.
I'd like to apologise for not stopping the child abuse, both sexual, physical, violent and verbal. I hope the culture has changed in the name of the great man of God.
Looking back now, if I was an adult, I would have definitely known what was going on. It's just, there were so many obvious signs that I just don't know how they could not have known.
Incredibly, within a 20-kilometre radius, there are 3 Catholic schools. 2 of those, Darramale and Marist College, have had numerous complaints made of child sexual abuse during the 70s and 80s and very early 90s. The other schools had none. And it's of concern that why all of these allegations are being focused on 2 particular schools.
I was aware that Paul Lyons had been a member of staff at Marist some time before, but I was nowhere near prepared to hear the allegations that were made in that newspaper article and subsequently about the sexual abuse allegations. They shocked me and they shocked our whole college community. Can Viv, you have those letters?
Yeah, sure.
I'm the face of Marist College to people of Canberra, and I have nothing but the greatest of sympathy and the deepest of sorrow for what happened. I'm ashamed of what happened, and I know that the brothers have that same sense of shame. I unreservedly apologise to all the victims, and I know that that everything that has been done by the brothers in recent months has been about ensuring justice happens for them, and I support that totally.
Every apology does mean something, I suppose, but it's not helping me apologising to me now. It's not helping me physically or mentally. I remember a time where, like, my mum drove me to a carnival and she never used to drive me anywhere, so I remember it quite well, and like I started punching her in the back because I didn't want to get out of the car because he was there. And she didn't know what that was for, but now looking back, she now understands what was going on.